was told by one of the guys that I pray with about 6 months earlier that I was going to have to make a big purchase. And I wouldn't understand it, and the people that were around me wouldn't understand it, and I didn't know what it was going to be. And then one day I drove home from work and there was a sign in the front yard. I didn't pick the house, and I just knew in my heart of hearts that I was supposed to have this.
Lisa Cini, she's the CEO of Mosaic Design Studio, an award-winning global commercial design firm that's the leader nationwide in Alzheimer's and long-term care design.
She's a Central Ohio interior designer for senior living and an authority on aging and technology.
And so I called and did a walkthrough and bought it that week. So then I had to break it to my husband and figure out what I was going to do with it. And everybody's like, what are you going to do with it? And I'm like, I don't know. And then I had this moment when I was gardening that I felt somebody say, what's your excuse about getting out to the world the message of how they can live with freedom instead of fear?
Cini creates safe and beautiful spaces for senior citizens on a regular basis.
So when I got this, from that moment on, I realized I needed to put all the tech and all the things I wrote about and all the designs that I'd ever done and make this basically a living example of all those things so everybody could experience it. The desire is to have an Airbnb style rental. We have a full on-site manager that will take care of anything, but we're not providing you breakfast or doing anything like that. Someone could rent out the dining room or the ballroom or the living room as they want, or they could rent out the whole thing, or just a room. When you don't have light, you're scared. You kind of get up and you don't know where to go, and you're moving really slow. You don't want to bump into anything or fall. And that's kind of how seniors feel. If you don't know that there are things out there that can make your life better, you're going to probably move a little slower and creep a little bit, and then people are going to think that you're slowing down and ask you to take it easy. But that's not what we're trying to do with this project. We're trying to open everybody's eyes, turn on the lights, and move everyone from fear to freedom. I always think in drawings and how I'm working through things. So right now I'm trying to figure out the staircase and how I'm going to do the railing to be able to still honor the house, but make it safe for how people can interact in the space and come through here. And I have spider webs in the chandelier also that I need to take care of. So, you know, it ends up being a little bit of to-dos and a little bit of kind of concept sketches, but I find that it helps quite a bit. What I know about the place is that it took 7 years to build. It started in 1907 and finished in 1914. And to put it into context, the Model T wasn't out until 1908, and women still didn't have the right to vote after the house was finished. So that puts it into context of how old the house is. It was built by the Werner family, and they owned a rubber boot company, and they traveled a ton. They stayed in the Great Southern Hotel while it was under renovation. But there are 10 different fireplaces in the house, and it seemed to me that as they traveled, they would bring different elements from all their travels and put it into the home.
Lisa's basically developing an archive, and she has a number of photographs from the family that originally built the house. So there's history dating from the 1890s that predate the house actually. So the connection to the history of the place, I think she told me there were 6 owners. I know the house was subdivided into apartments, but it's not obvious now because it's back into its original layout.
The exterior is modeled after the French Opera House. But the interior, each room has its own individual flavor. There's French Rococo, there's Greek Revival, there's arts and crafts, there's Roman and Gothic, so it's all over the board. I did a lot of medical equipment planning at the hospital. And what I saw was if I didn't understand what the technologies were that the doctors and nurses and the healthcare workers were using, we could actually design things that hurt people and went against how they were trying to heal. But if we integrated technology, we could double down their efforts and heal people way faster. So I'm an evidence-based designer, and that's what that's about. Like, how do you measure different types of technologies, whether it's lighting or music or care or flooring and acoustics, to be able to increase the healing process. And then you take that into senior living. I lived with my mother and my father and my grandmother that was 92 with Alzheimer's with my kids. We had 4 generations in one home. And I didn't want to have to wipe their rear ends. I mean, there are people that'll do that and not say a word. So finding a bidet toilet seat, finding, if my parents were out and I was out and I was worried about my grandma, putting a camera in there and a sensor. Those kinds of little things to make our lives better and their lives better, but not hurt them in any way. So part of it's selfish, part of it's, how do you just make things easier?
Here, I'm gonna pop in here and then I'll come out and kind of show you what this little room did. So back in the day, when you were delivering alcohol, you didn't want to get caught, and I didn't want to get caught. So this first door, I can look up here and see down on you. Can you see my hand? Okay. So if you were okay, I would unlock that door, and then you'd be able to see me here. So now I'm going to look at you eye to eye. So the first point of security was, you can't see me, but I can see you. If I think you're legit from this standpoint, and you're not going to bust me, then I'm going to open up this door. Then I'm going to let you in here. And if you're really on the up and up, then I open up this door. But like all good Prohibition rooms, and we've got kind of some of our antiques in here, we have a drain right there, and just in case the coppers come in and bust us, that we can pour all the alcohol down on the floor. This would be like burning all your weed in the basement before the cops came. You know what I mean? Like,
so when I bought it, I had no timeline. I kind of bought it cash and almost sight unseen. I mean, I walked through one time, and then I had to figure out what I was going to do to renovate it. And so that took several months. Then I started bringing it all together and aligning my collaborators and partners. And finally, in this last month, I'm like, I'm done. I'm done waiting. This has got to happen now, and we got to help people and talk about it. So we were able to find an incredible contractor and bring them on board, and we should be finished in 3 months. We're going to have 7 different suites that folks can try out, bedrooms and such, with all the different technology. We've got shawl flooring that's doing Sensifloor, Delta faucets, Toto, stock draperies that are going to help us with all the window treatments, because it's so important to have room darkening to be able to sleep well. And seniors really need that more than anybody else. We're also going to have various partners that are furniture partners. We've got the contractors. We've got some IT specialists that are going to be part of this. And then the collaborators that are designers.
Lisa's asked me to participate in design of a portion of the house. I think what I'll be doing is probably one of the rooms with Lisa and a group of other designers. I met Lisa and I was in awe of her knowledge. I've read a number of her books. The fact that she, really selflessly is doing this project to bring awareness to new technology, levels of design, really current thinking around senior living is inspiring to me.
It was a challenge, of course, but the house it is and the type of house and the history behind it, that really kind of drew me in to want to bring it back to its original glory.
The walls aren't just plaster. This is a triple brick house, so that leads itself to some problems. There's not an easy way to open up the walls and see where your electric's running or your plumbing's running.
We had a guy drilling through a brick wall, hit a wire in the middle of a brick wall. Not typical that they feed a wire through the middle of a brick wall, but that's what happened.
We found a lot of rain damage where people just didn't properly repair things through the years. And so we've taken care of those types of things. And then the plumbing. Almost everywhere that we've opened up the walls, we've got rotted boards, because also they didn't have treated lumber back then. So everybody that's been in this house that was before said there was definitely some junk going on. It's one of those things that if you've experienced it just one time, whether it was you're in a hot environment and all of a sudden you get a cold rush, or someone's passed in your life and you have a dream and you really feel like they come to you, or you walk through someplace and you get the creeps and you don't know why, but it just, or you get a spidey sense about something. It's that kind of thing. I believe in the soul. I believe that we are meant to be here with each other. And I also think that sometimes not everybody leaves and goes about their business. And when that happens, or when people do bad behavior, sometimes that mojo is in the space.
It had a bad vibe. And maybe it was because some people died when they lived in the house. You don't get a house this old, 100 years old, without having that happen. And we've lived in a lot of old houses. And so, like, I know what pipes creaking and radiator noises and all that kind of stuff. And there would be banging, like literally bang, bang, bang. And it would happen right here. And I would come in here and I'd light candles and I'd pray and I'd come in here and I'd check and nothing. This would happen like a couple times a week. And we would have other incidences with doors shutting and different things happening.
I don't think it's crazy. I think it's natural. Everybody says there's t-shirts that say good vibes. You know when a space has good vibe and you feel comfortable there. Well, this is a bad vibe because it needs someone to clear the house because there's so much action going on. It was a lot